Okay, so to give you guys a brief overview of LEAP, we are a Canadian registered nonprofit student-run organization since the beginning of the pandemic. So it's been over a year now. And our mission statement is to bridge the gap between high school and post-secondary and helping you leap into the future, which stands for learn, empower, assist, and prepare. And we've impacted, I think this number is actually outdated. So I think it's well over 30,000 students now across 35 countries around the world with a number of different initiatives, including our Pathfinder, our Tuesday Talk webinars, our coffee chat program, and so on. And if you're interested in learning more about our offerings or how to get involved with LEAP, feel free to check out our website. Specifically about Pathfinder, we are a career exploration program designed for high school students.
Yes. Hello. I'm good, thank you.
Oh, before we continue, can everyone mute themselves, please? If you're not speaking, there'll be an opportunity at Q&A periods to engage if you want to unmute yourself then or enter your questions in the chat. Yeah, thank you guys so much. Perfect. Okay, so Pathfinder is a career exploration program held in August to help secondary students explore what careers they might be interested in. We span over 4 weeks. We've had a business week, health sciences. Currently, we're hosting our design and media, and then next week will be engineering. So, and we have a lot of really great sponsors, including TD, CIBC, Austrec, Renos Design, and a lot of really awesome prizes that are available for you guys to win and to compete in the deliverable portion. So refer to your resource manuals for more information and how to get involved in the competition. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to introducing what careers are out there in the design and media industry. This is a very brief introduction. So if you're interested in specific careers, for example, that are mentioned, we definitely encourage you to do more research or just do more research in general as to what might be out there. So this is a very brief introduction, but we'll start off first with our first industry, graphic design. So graphic design is the art of creating visual content to meet users' specific needs and to display elements in interactive designs and optimize the user experience. We also have a couple post-secondary programs that we've listed if you're interested in, and some companies as well. Before I continue as well, if you refer to your resource manual, you will know this, but we have a brownie point collection system. So as you're participating in the panel, in the workshop tomorrow, and attend the rest of our events for this week, make sure you're recording anytime you see a word that's in the font color red and bolded. For example, I just gave it away, but the word visual right now, make sure you record these down because at the end of the week, there'll be an opportunity for you to submit these words, and the person that has collected the most keywords will win a special prize. So just giving you a quick heads up there. And then moving on, we also have product design. Product design, it's a little different than graphic design in the sense that it blends the user's needs with business goals to help companies make consistent, successful products. It's the process of imagining, creating, and iterating products that address a specific needs in a given market. Similarly, there's other post-secondary programs, OCAD. Carleton University has an industrial design program, Emily Carr, University of Art and Design, and other similar tech companies. We've also included in this umbrella of industries, visual and performing arts. Visual and performing arts is the study of theater, music, design, studio art, choreography, and so on, and with the intention to gain more exposure to meet multiple fields. It is a creative expression of feeling, emotion, opinion, or taste through visual means. Some example post-secondary programs, OCAD, Alberta University of Arts, McGill Faculty of Art, and then some companies that there are people who work in this discipline include Cirque du Soleil, National Ballet of Canada, Warner Music Group. And then we also have included the humanities industry. Humanities is the study of literature, philosophy, and art. It's an academic discipline that studies aspects of human society and culture, usually derived from historical elements. And again, you can find this program at a number of different universities, including the Faculty of Humanities at McGill, U of T, and UBC. And some example companies, we have the Art Gallery of Ontario as a curator and NRC National Research Council as an anthropologist. So a lot of really cool careers out there in humanities. And then moving on, we have our journalism industry. This is again very broad, but journalism is the activity or profession of writing for newspapers, magazines, or news websites, or preparing news to be broadcast. The purpose is to provide citizens with information they need to make the best possible decisions about their lives, their communities, their societies, and their governments. A few examples, there is a journalism program at Ryerson and at Carleton, as well as a similar program called MIT, Media, Information, and Technoculture at Western University. And a few example companies we have, CBC News, New York Times, CNN, and so on. All right, so that wraps up our introduction of a couple of different careers and pathways within this very broad umbrella of art, media, and design. And now I'm going to pass it over to our first keynote speaker, Grace. Grace, if you're here, if you can turn on your video. Perfect, that's awesome. You can start off with introducing yourself, and then I'll make you co-host so you can share your screen.
Yeah, for sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Grace. Super excited to be here. I'm currently a full-time. I'm a product designer at Electronic Arts, but my title is designer because my role kind of encompasses both product design, also a lot of graphic design and branding as well. And I recently graduated, well, not, I guess 2 years ago, graduated from undergrad from Santa Clara University. And I actually studied bioengineering and computer science engineering. And feel free to let me know in the chat what y'all are majoring in and what y'all want to pursue as a career. So I can give like specific examples. I also founded the largest design community in the world called Design Buddies. We're sitting at 26,000 members on Discord right now, which is pretty cool. I literally founded it during the pandemic. And then for fun, I create a lot of content for my social media and blog, just about like life and running. Oh, thank you. I see Design Buddies fan. Appreciate it. And I went through a lot of different career transitions in college. I was previously, when I graduated college, I thought I wanted to be a VR game developer focusing on medical devices. I've done like a bunch of speaking engagements just from like doing a lot of personal branding stuff on LinkedIn, which I can also talk more about that. But yeah, thanks for having me on. I can share my screen anytime too.
For sure. Let me stop share and then you can go ahead and share your screen. Thanks, Grace.
Yeah, so my topic is design your career. And yeah, feel free to drop in the chat what kind of career path you want to pursue or like what you're majoring in. So I can get a feel of like what y'all want to do, so I can give more specific examples. But yeah, I already just introduced myself, but as a disclaimer, all views on my own and do not represent the stance of any of my current employer or previous employers. Just had to say that for legal reasons. Oh, nice architecture. But yeah, so kind of like a timeline of my career journey was growing up, I really wanted to be an anime artist. Let me know in the chat if you also like anime. Because I feel like growing up, especially in the Bay Area, I was always told I had to be like doctor, engineer, or lawyer. But secretly I wanted to be an anime artist and a game designer. I also had a really big social media and blog where I just posted my art and running. And then in college, I came to college in 2015, majoring in bioengineering. I was pre-med because I was also an avid cross-country and track runner, and I really wanted to learn how to biohack myself to run faster. So that's why I studied that, for the sole purpose of learning how to biohack myself. And then kind of falling back into my childhood interests of video games, I got into game design and computer science because I really loved MapleStory. I just loved like that game so much that I wanted to like create something like that. And the reason why I chose CS because I wanted to be able to develop games, but also because I felt like it was like more quote unquote prestigious, at least the way like my parents presented it to me. Feel free to let me know in the chat if you can relate as well. But after doing some internships in game dev and software engineering, I realized I like the design part better. And instead of like game design specifically, I really like designing like web apps and like apps and just more general outside of games too. So that led me to pursue UI UX and product design. Along the way, I started many side hustles like social media and blog and art business and design buddies just for fun. Because I really love like learning stuff outside of school. And I feel like what y'all are doing now, like doing things outside of school is super, super helpful for a career. Because school teaches you like what to know. Like it's like you brain dump information, but actually pursuing stuff and taking action on it helps you know how to like actually do this stuff. Oh, awesome. Love anime fans and into the UX. So this is me, my freshman year dorm. I literally carried this Pokemon lunchbox with me because I don't know, I just like love games, and this is me with my Rillakruma buddies. And yeah, I wanted to be a neurosurgeon with an MD PhD. If you can relate, if like you want to do everything as a freshman in college, feel free to let me know. I want to be like MD PhD, professional runner, blogger, motivational speaker. But then I realized I was just doing things for my resume. And throughout my presentation, I'll be sharing some like lessons I've learned along the way that school didn't really teach me. I kind of just figured it out. And so, yeah, that helped me kind of structure. I did a lot of medical research, gene therapy and all that fancy stuff. I was really just doing it for my resume. Like, honestly, like my favorite part was taking photos of the cells. These are like human embryonic kidney cells and overlaying them in Photoshop. To look pretty. So that's like my favorite part, not the actual lab work. And then I love drawing. Like I love like integrating. There's even, you might think like biology and art is like really, really different, but really I love the story cells tell and how these like processes work. So I kind of personified like ATP and like chlorophyll and like nucleuses and like protons and just like bring life to things. Yeah, so there's another, thank you. I do these like in 2016, so I was like in college, and yeah, and then that led me to game design, took it to 3D. And so I was able to like find different interests I had and kind of integrate them, like games, art, biology. And yeah, I realized I was a fan of biology, not because I liked biology, because I liked the story cells tell, just like I was like a fan of it, just like a fan of anime. So I decided to make a game out of that. You can also find out my portfolio as well. I have a whole case study and demo if you're interested in learning more, but I learned a lot from like game dev. If y'all interested in game dev, and also like in school, because my major was like in engineering, so I didn't really take any classes in game dev, but I learned to really utilize the internet. And when I came into college, I had this mindset of my major is my life, like my whole career. I cannot go around that. And that was like really, really limiting. But then making a game and being able to follow tutorials on the internet taught me that I'm not bound to my majors. There's also a lot of like supportive communities on the internet. I didn't necessarily have professors who supported me, but professors who like, I actually had a lot of professors who like wanted me to quit game dev and do engineering, but you can also, you're not limited by that. And also, as building products, kind of like on a technical side, user feedback, no matter if you're like, especially UI UX design, if you want to go into that, it's important to make sure the product you're designing is actually solving a user need or business goal. So it's important to like have people test it, in this case, play test it early on, find problems before it becomes like too hi-fi. And then, yeah, games are also beyond entertainment. Like, I feel like growing up, I always had this mindset that I was kind of ingrained in me that games are just for fun. They like, quote unquote, rot your brain, according to like some of the parents I had in my community who told me I should stop playing games, but they're for fun. They can even like gamify surgery, and they can also be used for therapy. So many other things as, so thank you. So many different things outside of games as well, which leads me to my internship. So around summer 2019, I interned at Intuitive Surgical as a VR robotic surgery game developer intern. So this just shows that games are way beyond for fun. They can be used to train surgeons to do like surgery to save lives and stuff. So games can save lives, I guess, if that makes, I guess if that can like correlate. Around the same time, like I feel like growing up, I always thought I had to like focus on like one thing, but I want to say that it's false. Like I just did an anime convention phase of my life just for fun. Like I feel like, especially if all y'all are so young, if you want to pursue a business, start tabling an anime convention, make merch, whatever, now's the time to do it, because you don't really have anyone depending on you for most cases. So that's what I did. I was doing an internship and doing this on the side during that summer just for fun, because I was interested in it. And you don't need anyone to tell you to do it or not to do it, and just do it if you want to. And then, yeah, I also created design buddies. Long story short, I felt like a small potato in design. So I decided to pivot to product design in the end of 2019, but I didn't have any professors who really supported me. They're like, why are you no engineer? And I was like, I don't know. I just like didn't respond to them. And so I couldn't really find any mentors in my real life. So I went to the online community, and this was like end of 2019. And I felt like a small potato in this vast world of design. I felt like a lot of design communities out there were really, really intimidating. And let me know in the chat if you feel this way too. Thank you. Yeah. And I just like felt like I didn't belong because I was like not a design major, just like a student learning to do design. So I just created my own community because I feel like the best way to complain is to make things. So I just made design buddies and made it just emphasize on creating a community where people feel like they belong. And I feel like if anyone's interested in community building, that's the most important thing, making sure you have a safe space where people feel like they belong, part of a larger picture, organization and stuff like that too. So that's kind of like what I've learned. And overall, all my different projects, I've learned a lot through that school didn't really teach me. Is that when you're building products, especially as a UI UX designer, also like as any creative field, if you try to satisfy everyone, you'll satisfy no one, because you're trying to like solve everyone's needs, end up solving no one's needs. Like feature overload is a real thing. And just focus on creating value and just don't worry about every single edge case. And also oftentimes I feel like as a student, it's really easy to get in a mindset of like competing against or like measuring yourself against your peers. But I feel like overall, like we're all in it, at least most people are in it for the same goals. Instead of competing, think about like collaborating, and that helped me like make more friends overall instead of like being really like competitive, which I used to be actually when I was an avid cross country and track runner, but moved on from that mindset. And also I feel like as anyone from any creative field, you're bound to get a lot of feedback from like leadership, anyone. I feel like everyone like I see an industry has like their own opinions on design, even like non-designers. So as a designer or anyone in creative field, it's important to kind of have a thick skin and realize that feedback is not personal attack. If you're confused about something, ask like why and how. There's always room to improve. And then also like, as I mentioned, like all of my other projects, you don't need permission to start any projects. If you're interested in like doing whatever, don't like you don't have to like ask your parents or like ask your professors to just do it. As long as it's legal, but there's a disclaimer right there. And yeah, and so really quick, I know I'm running a little out of time, but yeah, I basically learned design on my own. I have an article about it that I can drop that kind of goes more in depth. And so if you're interested in design and not majoring in it right now, it's still possible to do it. There's a lot of resources out online, but I started at EA as like an intern and then it kind of worked my way up to full-time in December 2020. But along the way, I did a lot of hackathons, like kind of similar events as y'all are doing right now, learning the fundamentals. That's how I basically created my own design curriculum. I just did it. And then I did a lot of like, I actually posted my work a lot on LinkedIn, did a lot of startups and freelance work, and then started at EA as an intern and now full-time. And then yeah, this is how I personally got started in design, learning fundamentals, practicing by doing projects, improving at design tools, and then getting feedback along the way. And then, yeah, overall, I learned a lot of life lessons. Don't be afraid to take risks. Like the worst case you fail. I mean, yeah, the worst case you fail, but you can also think that, oh yeah, I just avoided something bad or like avoided doing something I didn't want to do. Like if I were continuing pursuing medicine or something. And you don't need permission to take risks. And then like, don't listen to people who tell you can't do something. They're not you. They don't know anything about you. As long as you're doing something that makes you happy, you'll be more successful in it. And yeah, don't let people like let you down because like at the end of the day, it's your life, not their life. And life is too short to live under someone else's dream. And balance is really essential for long-term success. Like do something that makes you happy every day. You'll like not burn out, you'll live happier. And yeah, that concludes my presentation. Feel free to connect with me on any of my social media platforms and join Design Buddies. And then I will drop the link in the chat. And thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Grace.
Yeah, I have a work meeting to run to, but I'll hand off to Gary. I know we went a little bit over time, but thank you all so much.
No worries. No worries. Thank you so much, Grace. And everyone feel free to connect with Grace. I also sent her link to her portfolio in the chat, so feel free to check that out as well. Thanks so much, Grace. Let me share.
Thank you, Grace.
Yeah, so introducing our week 3 sponsor, CIBC. Thank you so much, CIBC, for sponsoring this week. Thank you, Gary, for speaking out. So I'll hand it over to you. Feel free to introduce yourself, and
Thank you.
I'll let you share your screen after as well.
Yes, thank you, Anna. So yeah, and thank you very much, Grace, for the amazing presentation. I personally feel like after seeing your slides and comparing to my slides, I'm having second thoughts. I should have took some designer course myself. But again, what Grace said, it's definitely some very valuable advice for many of the students that you guys are in right now. You guys are in a stage where you can explore, you can try to find new things about what you like to do and what you want to do. I myself had a similar type of mandate, but just on a different realm with Grace compared to Grace. You see, as I went to University of Toronto, I study actuarial science and economics, and back then it was like because I was just naturally very good at math, so I decided that I would explore myself, like explore in terms of the field of actuarial science to see whether or not if I would do well in it. But as I was learning more about the course, I find out that yes, although I'm very good at the math, but I didn't really like how actuarial science it's locking myself in a door and just working on some of the financial modeling and whatnot. So I decided after my graduation I would try something new. So when I graduated, actually, I graduated amidst the global financial crisis. There's a lot of things where many people lost a lot of money, and I in the midst of the financial crisis, I actually started working at different companies, still exploring what I'm passionate about, what I want to do, and just so funny fact is that my family also had quite a lot of money invested prior to the financial crisis and whatnot, and I find that I still remember my parents were not they were very upset about how the retirement savings and were in jeopardy. So I started thinking to myself, maybe I might want to pursue a career in the financial advisory, financial services industry. And as I pursued that, I realized that this is something that I know and I love. And coming with a strong mathematical background like in the actual science space, that has definitely helped me in terms of being able to um, explain some of the more complex financial structures when it comes to explaining to different clients, and when I'm sitting down with the potential clients and help them make a sound financial plan, right? So I I guess maybe I can share my funny little two slides. So let me see if I can just take over here. Okay. So as I was saying, right, like, I mean, obviously my slides need some design work. I should have spoken with Grace before this presentation. But so as I was saying, I realized that in terms of when I was working, working at different banks, I've had different experience with working with a number of different banks. But one thing as I built my career, I noticed that community involvement is very important. So and that's something that when Caitlin and when the lead program asked me to share a little bit about some of the advice of what I would give to uh, undergrads, I would say that a word of advice is like don't hold yourself back from giving back to the community. I think that it's always nice to try new things, and at the same time, life is funny. The universe has a really funny way of saying giving you something, like, I mean, as in saying, when you're dishing out positive energy, it's sort of flows back to you. Something that I actually find that I actually learned it by accident. Right? I find myself thinking that I want to do something with my life. So I try to get myself involved in a number of different nonprofits. So as you can see, maybe I will start on the left-hand side, CICS, that's an immigration settlement services. That I'm part of, I serve on the board on these three different nonprofit associations, besides the work that I do at CIBC. So on CICS Foundation, I help in terms of manage the foundation and help um, continue the service to help new immigrants settle in. Those include like different Asian immigrants or even Syrian refugees and whatnot. So a lot of really meaningful things are happening there because many of them have like language issues. So CICS provide one of the largest link classes, which is an English as a second course class. And then also on the right would be Yihong Community Wellness Foundation. I also serve on the board for that foundation as well. It's actually the largest long-term care, senior long-term care center in North America. So very fortunate to be part of a very high energetic team there, being able to provide the consistent long-term care uh, service to the seniors, and I know that recently with like COVID and whatnot, there's been a lot of long-term care outbreaks, and we're actually quite proud to say that Yihong was not one of the centers that had went through all that, because uh, again, my involvement in the Yihong Foundation was a little bit more on the governance side, and making sure that we are able to consistently provide that type of experience to seniors of need. So that's something that, again, very great privilege and honor to be able to serve the seniors and be part of a great association there. And also lastly, the Lions Club International, because and the Lions clubs that I'm part of is called the Toronto Hong Kong Lions Club. Every year we do a lot of fundraising. We do a lot of different activities to help see where there are areas of um, sectors that may need help, and from financial perspective, we would donate towards certain entities to help them achieve their goal. So but again, that's just something in terms of what I feel. As I was saying, through the process of giving back to the community, I find that people want to help people who's willing to um, have like a passion to help make the world a better place. And I think that, again, when you guys are going to start your career, very much similar to resonating to what Grace was saying, it's very important to uh, find out what you're passionate about, but also at the same time knowing that we live in a community that you can't live in isolation, right? But at the same time, if you take this step forward to really um, try to make a difference, try to help out your community, and try to do something good, um, and definitely good things will happen. And I'm not saying that you need to do it because you're thinking of getting things back. Things would naturally happen, and I find myself meeting a lot of um, I'm tempted to say powerful friends, but it's true. You meet a lot of great friends that resonates with you, and that's why that's how you can build yourself in terms of if you want to have a successful career ahead of yourself. And I guess lastly, I would wanted to share it. It's again similar to what Grace is saying, like do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. I whenever I come to work, sometimes I feel that, as I was saying, because my family had received very poor financial advice, I feel like, oh, I want to make a difference. I want to be the financial advisor that will be able to give clients something that they can depend on. And I find myself loving this very much. And when how do you know that if you find something that you love or um, that you're passionate about, I think a good test is that, are you willing to do it for free? Right? I, I know that even sometimes when you love something or when you're passionate about something, you think that you're very generous of your time too. And actually with my job, like, I mean, even though when I'm not working, sometimes I'm always working. I feel like, and that's also the part where, like, even on weekends and whatnot, I will still come to work. It's something, my colleague says that I'm a bank geek. I'm always here. Like, I literally sleep in my office. But I think that it speaks a lot about what drives you, what motivates you. And same same lesson was as what Grace is saying. If you can find that and identify what really drives you and really take that idea home, you will be able to propel yourself and your skills to the next level that you will not be you'll be surprised at what your abilities and what your capabilities are when you do. Uh, so so I guess in terms of as a word of advice in terms of the career, like, don't chase after the money. Initially, when I was in school, like, I mean, thinking of actuarial science, it was something that sounded like like a great job, a great job stability and whatnot, and being able to get make a lot of money. But don't do it for the money. Like, and I'd say that if you find something that you're passionate about and just pursue that. And I'm very proud to say that, like, I'm very lucky to be able to meet a lot of great clients, great friends, and great colleagues. um, I'm I'm happy to say that, like, where I am right now, I'm actually doing a lot better than many of my clients, many of my friends who are also my clients, who ended up in the actual science realm. So again, it all really goes down to always trying to think how you can give back to the community and also doing what you love. Because if you put the two together, your career will, it's just amazing how things will synergize and help um, complement your career in the way that you can never imagine. So so yeah, and with that, I guess I will pass it back to Rena. But thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure. If any one of you have any questions about how working in a bank and in the wealth management business, like, feel free to drop me. Uh, I guess, Rena, if you can share my email, I'll be more than happy to connect with anyone who'll be interested in talking. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
sounds
you.
good. Thanks so much, Gary. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing about your experiences and your advice. I think that's really applicable for everyone who came out today, who's obviously very interested in exploring what career they might be interested in. So thank you so much. We are running a little short on time, so I will I'll definitely send out your email maybe at the end of the webinar, and then if anyone has questions to follow up with Gary, definitely feel free to reach out to him. But yeah, thanks so much, Gary.
Thank you.
Let me, perfect. Okay, so we'll move on directly to our university panel. So if our university panelists can show their video and get ready to introduce themselves, that would be amazing. We'll start off with our first panelist. Christina, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, okay, I'm gonna assume you can hear me. But yeah, my name is Christina. I'm currently going into my third year at OCAD in the Digital Futures program, which is kind of like using technology to do art and design. Right now, I work at Cisco as a UX design intern on cybersecurity software. Previously, I was a design technologist intern at RBC, where I built tools to help designers work more efficiently. And I also was previously a product designer at My Palette, which is like a recipe app startup. And yeah, thanks.
Awesome, thank you, Christina. And Alvin, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So hi, I'm Alvin. I'm a current graphic designer at a studio in Toronto called Puncture Design. I'm also assuming you can hear me as well. I actually graduated from OCAD this year, but so my career path was a little bit different. I originally got into graphic design at OCAD for the first year, and then I switched to advertising. Outside of that, I'm also just a member of the student RGD.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alvin. And Kelly?
Hi everyone, my name is Kelly. I'm going to be going to my third year at Western for BMOS, like a business marketing consumer behavior program. Currently at RBC, my official title is UI development / data science intern, but really I've been working on UX UI work this entire term as well as branding work. Previously, I was an intern at a startup as UX UI designer last year, and because of COVID, was able to like work remotely in the role during part-time during school as well. And then in terms of extracurriculars, I'm running a hackathon called Hack Western, design lead for that, and previously a design lead for another club on campus. And yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly. So we'll start with our panel discussion. It will be broken down into two sections. First, academic requirements and courses, and then we'll move on to experiences outside the classroom, including internships, clubs, and ECs. So starting off with academics, what do you study and why did you choose that program? So Christina, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, in my first year, I actually started off at Western doing, well, I wanted to do CS, but I was failing math, so kind of had to leave. And I decided to transfer to digital futures at OCAD for second year. And I think I really enjoyed it a lot more because I guess one, I don't have to take any math courses. There's lots of projects and there's not many tests, so I get a lot of like freedom to like try new things. It's really like, I guess, yeah, I find the material pretty fun, and there's like a lot of flexibility with what I want to learn. For example, like if I want to try 3D stuff, creative coding, or game dev. So yeah.
Awesome. Alvin, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I think I chose OCAD because I think I want to get that downtown experience. Like that's where a lot of like design happens in Toronto. Also, OCAD really offered like a really different structure than other universities. They offer a lot of studio classes, so the class sizes are a lot smaller. Also, because program sizes, at least for my advertising program, was really small, I got to meet and collaborate with like almost every single person, and I know them like on on a friend level almost, rather than like acquaintance, which is really nice.
Perfect. And Kelly?
Yeah, unlike the other two panelists, I'm not in an art or design program. I am studying business, and that was like going into university. I didn't really know of any career paths like in design. I was interested in art, sure, but I didn't really know what was out there for me, and business was kind of like a safe route. But now that I'm in the program in BMOS, there's actually a specialization called consumer behavior, which is actually quite relevant to UX and understanding people and how they like their decisions and whatnot. So I find that continuing the program would be beneficial for me, and also like taking some other electives like sociology I plan to minor in. But BMOS in general has a lot of flexibility, so it allows me to explore different areas like CS as well as other social science courses. So I found that really helpful, which is also why I decided to continue taking it.
Perfect. What does the student experience look like applying to your program? Christina, do you want to start us off?
Yep. So yeah, I guess my experience was a little bit different than if you're applying out of high school since I transferred to second year. The main things is that in order to qualify for upper year, you need to have other post-secondary studio class experience. So if you just went to like if I just went to Western, then they wouldn't let me, but I actually did a 3-month boot camp at an accredited career college where the instruction time was over like 400 hours, which like kind of qualified me to apply to upper year. And then also most of the admission is also dependent on an upper year portfolio admission, which is similar to the first year portfolio admission. I think you just need like more pieces in it. And then through all of those things, I got enough transfer credits to get into second year. And yeah, that's all.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's really interesting, like that you have like a little bit different of a pathway going into your program, because a lot of our attendees are in high school. So I think it's good for them to know, like, even if you go into your major or you decide that you like something else, there's still opportunity to figure out like what you want or if you want to change that.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Alvin, do you want to go next?
Yeah, for sure. I think for OCAD it was pretty straightforward if I remember. I just needed really a portfolio with like sketch work, I guess, and some like obviously some like finished pieces. And then the most important thing is probably the interview. The interview is obviously, it's not as stressful as you think it is. It's only like 10 to 15 minutes just talking about your work, and the prof kind of just guides you through and asks questions and stuff, ask about your like design decisions and kind of what else you do outside of just get to know you, I guess. But like really, I think nowadays they do switch it to like a digital experience. So I think you just have to submit a portfolio online. And I don't know if they have the interview section anymore. So it might be a little bit different, but relatively the basic standard of portfolio and like sketchbook/rough work.
Awesome, thank you. And Kelly?
Yeah, for my program, BMOS, it's probably one of the most like easiest to apply to, I would say, at Western. It's just the OEAC process, the same way you'd fill out like your top 3 schools and the programs. And it's just evaluated based off of grades. So I didn't have to fill out any supplementary for BMOS in specific. If you're gunning for an AO IB, then you'd also have that supplementary essays, which I did, but I just BMOS as a whole in general, just through OEAC. So very easy process.
Perfect. What does a typical day in your life look like as a student? Christina, do you want to start off?
Yeah, so I've been doing full-time school and work since January. So I'll like work during the day, and then I guess when it's back in person, I'm planning to just block off times in my calendar to go to class. And then after work and on weekends, I'll either do schoolwork or I don't know, I guess take a break. Breaks are important, like watch shows or something, because yeah, I should take breaks. And if it's like internship time, then I might spend that time working on my portfolio or preparing for interviews. And then to increase productivity, I try to like focus on one thing at a time and try to like limit switching between tasks, because like it takes the average person like 25 minutes to get back into a task after being interrupted. So that was, yeah, that was what I meant by when it says increase focus time. But yeah, that's all.
Yeah, that's good advice. Yeah, especially if you're juggling between all of that, like school and work, which is, yeah, really impressive. And Alvin, do you want to go next?
Yeah, for sure. I talked about it a little bit before, but a lot of the classes at OCAD are like collaborative or group projects. So you're not really spending a lot of time in a lecture hall, but rather in a studio environment. Outside of class, I think like the main piece of advice that I would give, at least even so you can start right now, is to enter competition. So whether that's like I guess if you're a UX UI design, you can enter like hackathons or like creative jams. But if you're like graphic design or advertising, for example, there are organizations like the ADCC or like Applied Arts, all these like magazines, communication arts that host like student competitions where you submit your work to. They can be schoolwork or they can be stuff done outside. Sometimes they have like a brief, but kind of getting like accustomed to like entering awards and like competitions just to like add more stuff to your resume that'll help you stand out from the rest of the people.
Yeah, thank you. And Kelly?
Yeah, for me, I wrote like when I'm actually studying, I am like doing, your reading, your note taking, going to lecture, etc. But because, as I mentioned, I'm in a business program, I'm not in a specific design or art program. A lot of the stuff I have to do to help progress my design career is done outside of school. So on my off time, I spend a lot of that working on extracurriculars in design, working on passion projects within design, attending hackathons, doing all that stuff because I don't actually have design projects within my curriculum. So I have to work on that anytime I get outside of school, but also kind of like what Christina mentioned, making sure to make time for myself, take breaks, go on walks, read, watch shows, etc., because it's important to have that kind of work-life balance. But as a self-taught designer, you will have to kind of go a little bit of an extra mile because you don't have some of those projects offered in school.
Great. Yeah, I think, yeah, there's definitely a common theme with all our panelists here. They're all super involved outside the classroom, even while being in school. So like, I think that transitions us to our next section, which is experiences, internships, clubs, and ECs. So what are some ECs that you took part in that helped you land your current role? Christina, do you want to start off?
Yeah, so I went to a lot of hackathons in first year, which is actually where I first heard of UX design for the first time. And hackathons are good because you can like get some projects and make friends and learn, go to workshops, and also like network with companies. And also like I worked on, oh yeah, I guess, okay, yeah, giving design workshops. So if you ever get any opportunities to help teach other people design, I feel like it's valuable to like like learn to talk about design, and like it helps in like interviews and stuff. And then for side projects to build portfolio, so like I helped like a recipe app startup with mobile app design because I was interested in that. And then I also wanted to learn some like front end and no code stuff. So I worked on like a couple of websites for events. And I think like all of those things definitely helped me develop skills that I use for my current role, and also like learn what types of or what parts of design I like and like what I look for in a job.
Perfect. And Alvin?
Yeah, I think like my school doesn't actually have or offer a lot of like extracurriculars, so you really have to kind of find your own stuff. The one biggest suggestion I would probably have is there's this organization called the RGD, the Registered Graphic Designers of Canada. They're a nonprofit as well, and they host like a lot of portfolio reviews. Like they offer mentorships. It's like a whole student organization, not student organization, but a lot of students in the organization that can help you really like build your presence outside of school, which really helped.
Yeah, that's cool. If you're interested, definitely check that out. And Kelly?
Yeah, for me, I'm at Western. One of the big extracurriculars that really helped me, I think, was Western Founders Network. It's a biz tech club on campus. I actually worked on the VP team with Rita and Caitlin here, but I was a design lead there, and that just helped me a lot with like leadership and understanding branding and collaborating within the design team, which is very important if you do want to go into more design roles, because you're usually working in a team. Same thing as Christina, I went to a lot of hackathons. I loved hackathons so much, and I became a hackathon organizer. So Hack Western, doing design there, taught me a lot about product, versus WFN was more on like the graphic design side, but Hack Western, I'm working a lot more on like products or a site or application portal that the hackers will use to sign up. So learning a lot more about user experience on that front. And then I think the catalyst actually for my UX design career was the WITS ADA mentorship program. So WITS is an organization on campus, but they had this mentorship program where I worked with a product design mentor on an app, like kind of like you would at a hackathon, but I actually worked on the design process for the first time within that program, and that helped me learn more about UX, and that it was a thing that it's not just like art or graphic design. So yeah, I think those are the main ones that really helped me work on my design eye, but also like improve my leadership skills and communication as a whole.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I think ECs are a really great opportunity to figure out kind of what you're interested in, what you're passionate about, and hone in on those skills, like all our panelists said. And any tips or tricks for students looking to get more involved in your field? Christina, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so I always tell people like use Google. What I mean is like there's like a lot of resources out there, and there's going to be like a lot of things you don't know. So if you can be resourceful, you'll get very far in life. And being intentional and strategic with how you spend your time. So if you can like set goals to work towards and know what you want, you can like help ask better questions and get more out of your conversations with people, and also just make like better use of your time in general. And then with Iterate, just always like trying to be better and like improving.
Thank you. And Alvin? Yeah,
I would probably suggest start building your portfolio as soon as possible. Your portfolio is really just like kind of like your creative resume in a way. It'll be what it's like on a website most likely. You'll always be using this to apply to jobs, especially if you're a graphic designer, for example. Also really start learning to be comfortable talking about your work. This will help in the interview process, but will also help you like when you're actually on the job, talking to a higher up or a creative director, for example.
Yeah, I know, like I said, like for our attendees, if you're interested in design, definitely start looking into building your portfolio, like Alvin said. We link Grace's portfolio if you're interested to see what that kind of looks like. But yeah, and Kelly, do you want to go next?
Yeah, networking, I cannot preach enough about. I think my last two roles were actually a function of networking. Like I would not have landed it otherwise. Western Founders Network, the club I was part of, actually helped me land my first internship. And Christina here on the panel actually helped me land my current one. Like she referred me to her VC. And I didn't know her before. Like we were just like, I just met her, I think, and then we just talked and yeah, anyways, but also like getting mentors is really important, because originally, like also I mentioned I'm a self-taught designer. Like I kind of thought like I could kind of get by reading Medium articles or like watching YouTube tutorials, but you you can't really compare it to actually have somebody that believes in you and supports you and like will answer any questions you have like along your design journey. So networking to like find those mentors are actually really valuable. And when I did, it was infinitely better than trying to do stuff on my own. And then my last sort of tip is also just to explore broadly like what you would like and dislike, because you don't know unless you try. There's so many facets to design and like graphics in general that you can explore and play around with. Then after you explore everything, you can kind of figure out what you want to focus more on, but don't stop before you give the other options a try.
Perfect. Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, I definitely agree. Having mentors are really important, and everyone who's out here, especially our younger attendees, definitely a great opportunity for you to connect with some upper years and get that mentorship. I feel like I may have missed a slide. Yes, okay. Let's go back to this question. What are some useful skills that you learned that help you be successful at your current position? Christina, do you want to go first?
Yep. So yeah, spending a lot of time in Figma, I guess specifically for like UX design, when you're able to put designs together like quickly and thoroughly, it helps like communicate and get your ideas across better. And then also estimating and prioritizing tasks. It doesn't have to be from like design related experience, like even just like being in high school and balancing like schoolwork with ECs or jobs or whatever, and like knowing your limits, it can help manage work and time expectations. And then setting goals. I feel like I kind of mentioned that in the last one. So
yeah, perfect. Thank you. And Alvin, do you want to go next?
Just be comfortable and learn as much like about design programs as you can, but also try to specialize in something that other designers may not be able to have. That'll really just help you stand out against the competition, and you're always going to like learn new skills. However, the more skills that you have, the more I guess like interest that you'd have as a designer.
Perfect. And Kelly?
Yeah, I think my first one from like all my ECs I've mentioned, it really helped me build my eye for design. I think the first printout I made was like in grade 10. It was like awful, but like through my experience in clubs, I was able to practice more and iterate and get better at understanding like visual design and how layouts work together, etc. As well as working in Figma, as Christina mentioned, like being able to put mockups together is like makes things so much easier. Like there's a lot of tools available within Figma that helps you like automate your processes, and not taking advantage of that like would take you a long time. So it's way easier if you get familiar with the program. And like building product in general is obviously a useful skill, but I guess more on the soft skill front, I guess the side effect of being in these leadership positions is I learned a lot about leadership and managing people and communicating, and asking for feedback is also a really big one that translates a lot to my work constantly. Like nobody knows you're struggling unless you ask, right? So teaching me to like be more open to asking questions and not feeling like afraid, like, oh, what if I'm bothering somebody for asking a question, you know? But just asking and asking for feedback whenever you can, because again, like they don't know you're struggling unless you say something. So I learned that a lot from my past experiences and also my current work experience, and I think that'll carry through to the rest of my career.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, thank you guys so much for sharing. That's all really helpful advice. I think that wraps up our panel section, and we have a few minutes left for Q&A. So if there's anyone who has questions for panelists, this is a great time to ask. You can either unmute or you can just leave a question in the chat. Okay, we have someone asked, why would people mentor me? So I think maybe explaining a little bit about how you can get a mentor or how you can receive mentorship, or a little bit about that process, especially for maybe people who might be a little intimidated to maybe reach out for mentorship. And anyone can talk about this.
I can go.
Sure.
So like, I don't know, I guess a lot of people who have helped more experienced designers who have helped me so far, like I think they just like to like give back to the community, and they remember what it was like when they were like starting off in design, and like yeah. And then there's also like this website called like ADP list, or I'll just like link it, but like that's one site where you can also, like Grace mentioned, design buddies. There's a lot of people that can help you on there.
Yeah, thank you. And Senna asks, what platform would you recommend when making our portfolio? again, anyone can jump in.
I think it really depends. I know Squarespace is a pretty viable option as well as Wix. It also depends if you are gunning for a code or no code option, but no code option, Squarespace looks great. I personally use Webflow just because I have some experience in HTML and CSS, because there's a bit of a learning curve if you do Webflow, but it does allow you a lot more customizability. There's also like Carbon Made, which is good. I'll link some of this stuff in here. It's just a good option. I don't know if the other panelists have like other options. So I'm most familiar with Webflow. But yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Christina or Alvin, is there anything else that you wanted to add, or we're good? I feel like Alvin's like thinking, I can't tell.
Yeah, yeah, I'm trying to think. I think
Okay.
there's also like something called like Cargo. I think they have like really artsy looking websites. So if you're like going to the graphic design field, that might appeal to you too. Yeah, but I would recommend Squarespace as like the standard.
Mm,
Can't really go wrong with it.
perfect. Yeah. Yeah, it really depends on like Kelly mentioned. Like if you want to use code or if you don't want to use code, or like but yeah, there's a lot of great options. Kelly linked a couple, so yeah, feel free to check those out. And that brings us to the end of, oh, I got, there's one more question. Okay, we'll go over this question really quickly. What are some of the important components you should include in a portfolio? Does someone want to like briefly go over that?
Yeah, sure. I think it depends what kind of portfolio you're doing. I can only speak to the product side. But if you're going for more UX design, product design roles, then you want to have case studies in your portfolio. Like 2 to 3 is fine, like even 2 is fine. Or even 1 is fine actually. But within a case study, you want to define like your problem, the research you did within the process, iterations you worked on, as well as the solution. It's really hard to cover it all like in like a minute. So if you're more curious about that, feel free to reach out to I guess any of us as well, and we'll be happy to answer.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
So
I
that's,
think
go ahead, go
sorry,
ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go
So
ahead.
it's like,
Don't worry.
I guess like from like a graphic designer role, I get less really about case studies. My biggest criticism at first was like a lot of creative directors, they don't really read text. So just a lot of images, and then I'll make sure you have an about page. Your about page is like kind of like the resume, but also just like the first point of contact to where people get to know who you really are. So make sure you have like a really nice about page that kind of talks about who you are and is true to yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Alvin. That wraps up our panel for this week. Thank you so much to our panelists for sharing about your experiences and your advice. We've linked their LinkedIns here, so feel free to reach out to them, connect, add a note, tell them where you know them from. If you have any follow-up questions or anything else that you were interested in that you want to ask them. Yeah, thank you so much again, Christina, Alvin, Kelly.